Hello and welcome to Bookish and Beverages. I'm Melissa and I share delicious beverages and summary recaps on fantasy book series so you can remember what happened without having to reread it. And today we will be diving into The Hemlock Queen by Hannah Whitten. This is book number 2 in the Nightshade Crown series. Content warning, there are full spoilers ahead. If you have not read this book, pause, save, and come back later. So that's your final warning. Now let's go grab our drink. For our beverage today, we'll be making a Sunshine Ginger Turmeric Tea. Here's what you'll need. In a tea strainer for loose leaf teas, add 1 teaspoon of a ginger turmeric tea blend or 1 to 2 tea bags. This one is from Trader Joe's. Add 1 cup of boiling water, cover, and let it steep for 3 to 5 minutes. Once it's done steeping, strain the tea, add honey or sweetener to your taste, stir, and enjoy. Drinks in hand, let's dive into our book. It has been 3 weeks since the eclipse and everything that went down at the end of book 1. If you need a refresher on book 1, I'll add a link to my summary recap in the description below. Gabe is still moody, but with a better title, the Exalted Priest. Lore is the king's death witch, and Bastian is the sainted king and chosen Arsenault heir to wield Spiritum. Getting right into it, Lore and Bastian head back into the catacombs to reverse engineer the necromancy Lore performed on the corpses of the village victims. A Presque-Mort named Geralt escorts them, and boy, is he in for a breathtaking surprise. Literally, because when Lore starts to channel Mortem, a corpse's hand grabs him by the throat. Quick acting, Lore channels Spiritum at the same time back into Geralt, saving him and finishing what they came to do. In the tunnel, catching her breath, Lore spots her biomom, the Night Priestess, before she disappears. Lore wakes up from a dream, hears a voice in her head whisper, "Catacombs," like Harry Potter in the Chamber of Secrets. That's never a good sign, and she starts to wander around until she finds herself in the stone statue garden. The Night Priestess shows up again, telling Lore that she needs to run. Time is running out, and especially since she knows she felt the call. Their encounter is cut short when Gabe shows up and finds Lore alone. Well, this is awkward. They haven't spoke much since his betrayal. Lore still cares for him, but can't trust him. And obviously, he thinks she's picked Bastian over him. Love triangles. Who were you rooting for Lore to end up with in this series? Were you Team Bastian or Team Gabe? Or Team both? Let me know in the comments below. And it's time for another adventure. To the farmlands they go to test if she can go beyond the city proper and pull out the Mortem she had channeled into the fields when there was the big leak back in book 1. Huzzah! She is able to leave the city and they are successful in returning to the farmland to its lush green self again. Before she can celebrate this achievement, someone comes to crash the party. A Carithian delegation invited by Bastian himself. The new council, which includes Gabe, Allie, Malcolm, and Lore, are pissed at Bastian because he basically invited the people that everyone hates to their party. Bad choice. Rather than wait for Carinthia to invade while they're vulnerable, he wants them right under his thumb so he can show them who's boss by showing off their powers and strutting their stuff. Like Evie from the second Mummy movie, Lore wakes up from a dream that feels like it's happened before in another lifetime. Bastian comes in with a midnight snacky snack and an apology, although I think he wishes he could be the snack, but homeboy has been acting a little sus lately. The next morning, Lore meets up with Gabe for her Mortem shielding session. Typical Gabe, getting straight to business. Lore has had enough and she is sick and tired of walking on eggshells. She confronts him by ripping off the band-aid. Even though they have a quick chat, Gabe is still closed off. Frustrated sigh. It's finally Bastian's coronation. Lore is sitting on the front platform like a queen, while Gabe gets the show on the road. Bastian strolls in to be crowned, says "I do" to his kingly duties, and makes Gabe read a stricken tract from the holy books. Gasp! How blasphemous. Basically, it says that light and dark and life and death are equals, therefore protecting Lore by declaring her powers as holy too. And what better way to celebrate by putting on a spectacle, bringing roses back to bloom, and Bastian proposing to Lore. What? All while making Gabe stand front and center to watch. Harsh. Harsh, bro. First day morning prayers as the newly betrothed, Bastian channels his inner Edward Cullen and starts to shimmer and glow in front of everyone at court. He follows that spectacle up with introducing the Corinthian delegates, Caius and Maxon. Also, quick little warning, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce all the names in this book, so I'm just going what I think sounds the best or what I have been able to find based on what other people think it sounds like. So just go with it, as usual. Lore heads out to talk with Gabe and ends up finding a blood coat assigned to shadow her. Annoying. Lucky for her, though, she's able to meet with Gabe privately in the confessional. And finally having a real conversation with her, Gabe leads Lore out to a secret door to the stone garden to show her Anton is still alive. And still a weird rosebush statue in the greenhouse. He starts spewing his holy madman talk that might kind of makes sense to Laura after she's been having all of her weird memory-like dreams. Back in the confessional room, Laura and Gabe have an almost heated moment that goes nowhere. Bummer. I need something. The slow burn in this was just killing me. There's a crash at night and Laura goes up to Bastian's bedroom to find him standing by the window, shirtless. After some weird questions and voices whispering in her head, Laura and Bastian finally have a short makeout sesh. Upon his request for her to stay the night, they fall asleep cuddling. I'll accept that for now. The next day, all the courtiers take a field trip down to the docks to christen a new war boat when, boom, an explosion goes off. Laura literally saves everyone's lives by channeling spiritum back into the people while absorbing a flash flood of leaking mortem that seems to be coming directly for her. Yes, queen, her powers. Waking up with the council gathered in her rooms, they're all arguing over who could be behind the bombing when a Presque-Mort comes in. All the mortem is gone. They opened up the well to channel any little bits that would come up during an eclipse, a lunar one this time, but it's all gone. Dun dun dun. At the well, Bastian boasts about how it's a good thing and that they've all been liberated from the leaking mortem because of Lore. Homeboy has been acting super sus up to this point, accidentally touching a stone stem and disintegrating the whole flower bed. Lore notices the growing gray star on her palm and the inky veins. She just channeled mortem with barely a touch. All right, Elsa, it might be time to put some gloves on. Gabe takes Lore to the library to work on her mind shield where they end up reading Myths with Malcolm. After a random plant vine grows mysteriously long in the short time that they were there, Gabe leads Lore into the hallway and pins her to the wall. They start to hash things out, and just when they're about to give in to their pent-up desire for each other, the sconce flame turns up the heat, instead stopping them in their tracks. What a cockblock. By fire. Instead of going back to her rooms, Laura goes on a side quest with Allie to the dungeons to have a little chat with the locked up Corinthians. Finally in bed, Laura has a full-on combo with the voice in her head, acknowledging that it's Nixara. Summer progress, where Bastian, Lore, and their hoity-toity entourage of select courtiers visit the other select courtiers' estates, is in full swing. One of the stops includes the Demond state, where Amelia lives with the old lord she was married off to. Amelia's family were all sent to the Burnt Isles for conspiring with Anton, and she's also sour towards Lore because she wanted Bastian and to be the queen. So sad, too bad. At the end of all this revelry, Lore, Bastian, and Allie make one last stop to visit Severin Bellegarde, Allie's dad, who's on house arrest. I guess that's much better than being sent to the Burnt Isles. Alone in their room for the night, Bastian finally opens up to Lore about the voice in his head. It's Apuleius himself. And all that sus behavior from earlier has just been him fighting off Apuleius's control during the daytime, but he doesn't know how much longer he can take it. Don't give up, boy. Don't give up. The next day, Lore requests a tour to keep Apollonius and Bellegarde from chatting. Bastian gains control at one point and turns up the heat with Lore in the gardens, but they get rudely interrupted by Apollonius putting Bastian in the back seat again. Leaving Bastian to rest for the night, Lore finds Allie in the study with a shocking revelation. This just in. Allie isn't Bellegarde's daughter, but rather the late King August's daughter. I had an inkling she wasn't Bellegarde's actual daughter, but I didn't put two and two together that she'd be August's daughter. And I guess that's a good thing because Allie and Bastian have always had a more familial type of friendship. That would have been awkward. The next morning, Lore overhears Apollonius and Bellegarde chatting until the sound of a neck snaps. Bellegarde is dead, and it's time to head home. Checking off the one-horse trope, Apollonius makes Lore ride with him back to the Citadel. Bastian is able to gain back control for the last leg of the ride, telling Lore to tell Ellie and Gabe and Malcolm the truth. With all four of them gathered, Lore spills the beans. Apollonius and Nyxara are in their heads, and Apollonius has pretty much taken control over Bastian during the day. Turns out the other three already had their suspicions and were right on the money. After reading a myth about the fount on the Golden Mount, basically the fountain of power that the gods had drank from to become gods, the group goes on another side quest to read what Anton's original prophecy says. Some things they already knew, and some things they didn't. Since Lore didn't die, the power of the fount will find new vessels for all 6 gods. Let's see, we already have Lore and Bastian. That's 2. Malcolm freaks out when he realizes that the plant incident was him channeling earth magic from Braxtos. Looks like Allie has air magic from Lyriel, and Gabe has fire magic from Hestrion. 3 elemental gods down, 1 to go. I already had an inkling who that was going to be. Gabe and Lore meet back up at night to talk with Anton. He isn't much help, but Lore gets the feeling that there was something missed in the prophecy, and she was right. Letting Nyxara take over for the first time to read the ancient symbols, more of the prophecy is revealed. On their way back to the Citadel, they stumble into chaos and a murder. Amelia Demond in the royal apartments by a dry drowning. The physician performs an autopsy right then and there on the floor per Bastian's request, aka Apollonius's. Lore knows it was Apollonius that murdered Amelia, and he makes it obvious to her. And now he has water magic. Gabe and Lore sneak into the catacombs to raise Amelia, confirming what they already guessed. Yep, Apollonius did kill her because she was going to be the vessel for the god of water. Saliar or Kaliar. Either works. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Lore has one more mission down in the catacombs as she runs towards Nyxara's tomb, and Gabe runs after her. There's nothing but skeletal remains from the buried watch by the tomb. Lore enters the tomb, sees Nyxara's alive and breathing body, and touches her forehead, transporting her into Nyxara's memories. Nyxara and friends have all gone to an island with Apollonius to see what he found after his long travels. The fount. He convinces them all to drink from it, and they all become gods. Apollonius and Nyxara have an extra sippy sip, and he makes a disturbing and possessive vow to her. And not in the you're mine hot panty melting trope way. It's just creepy, you know? The only catch is that all the gods haven't been able to leave the island, and they technically aren't immortal. According to the fount, they will have 2 deaths. One is immortal and one as a god. Time passes by. People find the island and begin to worship them, mostly Apollonius, after some divine magical acts. The others are getting restless, trying to find ways to leave, but Nyxara figures out that it's Apollonius that is keeping them trapped. After a bounce chicka wow wow sesh with Hestrion, he and Nyxara find Apollonius to convince him to let the other gods go, but instead, all 3 get it on together. Alone with Apollonius, Nyxara agrees to finally marry him if he lets the other gods go. Does he follow through on his end of the deal? Of course not. Selfish prick. One night, Nyxara creates a distraction, letting all the other gods escape. Apollonius puts it all together, threatens that he'll never let her go, and carries her off to the fount to question it again. Even though he doesn't get the answers he wants, Nyxara takes advantage of the opportunity to rip out his heart. Back to reality before Nyxara can share the rest of her memories, Nyxara's body disintegrates, leading her to her first death. Gabe hauls Lore out of the caving tomb, and they escape the catacombs. Before parting ways, Lore and Gabe make out again until, you guessed it, Gabe puts an end to it again. Bro, I can't with him. I really can't. Lore visits Anton one last time and channels her inner Queen of Hearts. Off with his head. And she literally shears off Anton's head. She drops one rose down the well, taking up her bio mom's offer for help. Bags packed, Lore heads to Bastian's rooms for one last goodbye. Bastian confesses that he was the one that killed Amelia because she was trying to kill Lore. And then Apollonius took over and took it to the next level, and the powers. Yearning for Lore to love him the way he loves her, they finally found Chicka Wow Wow. And after he falls asleep, she makes sure he stays knocked out with a wee bit of chloroform before she makes the great escape out of the citadel. Her logic, if she's away from the rest of them, the gods' hold on them will lessen and hopefully fade altogether, since she's the catalyst and key to it all. Seems like Apollonius knew Lore might try to make the getaway and had all commercial boats halted. Lore finds herself at her mom's warehouse, breaks down in front of none other than Michael. After a few hours of sleep and her mom's agreeing to let Lore take their private boat out of the country, Gabe, Allie, and Malcolm show up wanting to join Lore's great escape. The group gets ambushed by bloodcoats on their way down to the docks, and all hell breaks loose. Lore gets shot and heals herself. Allie gets captured. Lore uses Mortem to force Gabe and Malcolm to the boats to set sail with Michael and her moms. Lore lets herself get captured to try to save Allie. Both are brought to the throne room, and Bastian, aka Apollonius, announces Allie's true lineage as an Arsinoe and her betrothal to Jax Aronicus, the Emperor of Carythia. What's this? Caius is Jax. Jax is Caius. The whole damn time in the dungeons. Just when Lore thinks she'll be condemned for Amelia's murder, Apollonius surprises her by clearing her name, making her his wife and queen right then and there. Later in the church, Jax visits Lore and confirms that Amelia was behind the ship bombing and that he's known about Apollonius all along. Anton wasn't the only one Apollonius spoke with before his return. Apollonius sashays back into the church asking to speak with Nyxara. With Nyxara in the driver's seat again, he asks if she'll stand with him or make him an enemy. Just as Apollonius is about to kill Lore for Nyxara's rejection, my boy Bastian comes through for just a moment, deflecting the blow. Apollonius gives Lore one last chance to give up Nyxara's powers. She's about to, and lets him think so right before she takes her powers back. That's right, F you. She pulls the Mortem out of the church, causing it to crumble down, hoping her last-minute crazy plan might work. Jax runs out like a little bee. Lore waits for the gods within her and Bastian to die their second death as the building falls down on them. Similar to what she did down at the docks, she channels Spiritum into them both when it seems the gods are gone from within. They both live, but did she get rid of the gods for good? Nope. We're back, and Lore blacks out. In a 4-part POV epilogue, we get Gabe on a boat with his flippy floppies. Not really, but land ahoy, they're almost to Chaldean. Lore wakes up and she's been shipped out to the Burnt Isles. So much for her plan. Nyxara is still with her, and she finds out that Apollonius still has 2 deaths left. What the fuck? Just like Nyxara's body, his original body is still alive. And poor Bastian. He's struggling and suffering as the backseat driver while Apollonius walks around wearing his body like a costume. Last but not least, Laura's mom finds the wilted rose. It's planning time. That concludes the summary recap for The Hemlock Queen. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more summary recaps on your favorite fantasy series. And if you enjoyed this summary recap, please like, subscribe, and share with your fellow book lovers. And if there are any series you want summary recaps on, just drop it into the comments below. And thank you, thank you, thank you.